In a week where Microsoft further blurred the lines between console gaming and PC gaming with its Xbox Tower Block, it's just called Xbox again. And Sony brought us the bolt-on alternative to the Xbox Elite controller with possibly the most surprising use of an OLED this year, back-facing. Intriguing. Anyway, buckle up for the BA News Show. Welcome to the BA News Show. Today we are going to be talking Xbox Series X. We're going to be talking Dino Crisis and the reimagining of some amazing survival horror games, and also Star Wars. So, we're going to start with Xbox Series X. What do we know? It was revealed at the Game Awards with some interesting details. They're saying it's going to be significantly more powerful than the current generation of Xbox, the Xbox One X. They're saying up to 4 times more powerful, which is an incredible number. They're saying, now I'm thinking this is going to be seen to be believed, but 8K 120 frames per second.
They're just bigging it up, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think on that one. The 8K 120 frames per second is probably the peak capability, but I think the most likely benchmark is going to be 4K 60 frames per second for most games. I think we can safely say that.
And also, we've spoken before on the channel that, to be fair, we'd rather see 4K 60 frames per second than a pushed 80K with frame rate issues.
100%. Yeah. I think for me, I'm most surprised by this 2 times GPU power of Xbox One X, which on basic calculations puts it somewhere near 12 teraflops, if it's as simple as that. And this is from the mouth of Phil Spencer.
Yeah.
So how much are we going to be paying for this Xbox Series X and next-gen consoles, broadly speaking, because the PS5 has to be somewhere close to this, surely.
Well, that's the thing. We've both got Alienware laptops with GTX 2080s in, which are 10 teraflops is the tabs?
Yeah, I think around about 10 teraflops. Around about
10. Yeah. I certainly know the TI is pushed over £1,000, but so I mean, they're never going to be selling PlayStations and Xboxes for that price, but blimey, that's some tech that they're going to cram in for something that's going to be what sort of £500, do we think, tabs? Or are we thinking this is going to blow out of water? It's going to be
They're saying 400 was always the sweet spot, I think, but I think with what we're seeing here, it has to be at least £500, isn't it? With this new SSD technology as well, it's like 40 times the power of current SSDs, virtually eliminates load times, Phil Spencer's saying. So yeah, it's raised some real concerns about the price. But I know, Rich, you wanted to just share with everybody your thoughts on next gen in terms of what we've actually seen from titles so far.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously we're very early in this next generation. We're not going to see a console for probably another year, and the hype will definitely build. So they're only really releasing what they want to show us at the moment. So, there's no standout titles. And I'll be honest, I am not at all blown away by any of the next-gen graphics I've seen so far. I was expecting, like you normally do with next-gen, to be like, wow. But to be honest, I'm more blown away by, is it Ghosts of Tsushima? I'm more blown away by the graphics on that than I was of the next-gen stuff. Now, I realise that's end of this generation. Potentially we'll get a port onto PS5, but yeah, I'm not seeing anything that's blown me away at the moment.
The foliage porn on Ghost of Tsushima, mate, billowy goodness.
Yeah, unbelievable, wasn't it? I tell you what, it really reminded me of what Breath of the Wild would look like if they gave it like a realistic graphics overhaul.
Yeah, I can go with that. Yeah, it would be amazing, wouldn't it? Like an Unreal Engine version of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing I will say on this console, so we're expecting next-gen consoles to be expensive, sort of £500, and you'd be thinking, wow, that is some money to put into a console. But actually, come early part of next year, if you would like to spend more than that on a console, if you've got circa £1.2 million, you could buy the one and only Sony Nintendo offering, where they joined forces to create a one-off console looking to build further, but it sort of died a death, which is why there's only one.
The Nintendo PlayStation, coined as.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, what a collector's item, but it certainly puts in perspective the next gen offerings, doesn't it? You know, we're going to be getting value for money, but it's just if, you know, get saving now, everybody. I think that's the message on that one. So the next item up, Rich, should we move it on to Dino Crisis?
Go for it, mate.
Obviously, Resident Evil 2 Remake did very well this year. It was very well received critically. Dino Crisis is apparently, has definitely had its trademark renewed by Capcom this week. Just for those people who don't know, Dino Crisis, I didn't actually play it, but it's about 20 years old, I think. Original PlayStation game, and essentially just think of Jurassic Park meets Resident Evil. And it's a bit of a cult classic, a bit of a fan favourite. But in addition to that trademark filing, rumours have been fueled essentially by emails sent to Resident Evil ambassadors via a program they run, which the quotation is, as limited offers to ambassadors, we have invitation to a playtest session of our unannounced title. So essentially speculation is rife at the minute. You know, what is this unannounced title? Could it be Resi 8? Could it be Dino Crisis, which chimes, you know, conveniently with this trademark filing? Could it be something else entirely? Another one of their back catalogue offerings, maybe.
And that brings us on to an interesting point. These have become very popular, you know, like you say, with the advent of Resident Evil Remake, now Resident Evil 3 Remake, which is in the works. What would you like to see get remade, Tabs?
I think I'd like Dino Crisis just because I missed out on it the first time, and it always did look intriguing. You know, I loved Jurassic Park back in the day, that kind of survival horror aspect with dinosaurs. You know, in this brilliant, this fabulous engine they've got that they've been remaking titles on. I think it could be something quite immense. Resident Evil 8, I mean, 7 I didn't play so much. It's just too scary in a first-person perspective. I'm not sure I'm massively excited for that, but I know there will be a big fan base out there for it.
The obvious one that we want to see remade, and I think there's even petitions currently, is Silent Hill, isn't it? We want to see a Silent Hill remake, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not a Capcom game, that one. It's a Konami game, and obviously there's been all sorts of issues with Konami and just making games in general. But supposedly Reddit user SoxT0001, however you want to pronounce that, posted on Reddit with suggested evidence. We don't know what that evidence was, but apparently the moderators of the Reddit page were happy with it, that Kojima has been in talks with Konami to produce a new Silent Hill game.
I mean, I know that someone has obviously said, yeah, the evidence you've presented is fine, but I find that very, very hard to believe.
Well, I'll point everybody to the Game Rant article, which does a good job actually of talking about, you know, looking at the possibility that could be real, but also looking at the possibility and the reasons why it's probably not real. As we know, Kojima's had a very acrimonious split with Konami, so it seems highly unlikely that they've suddenly made friends and are happy enough to just lend him that license to, you know, go nuts with it. I mean, obviously, as Rich says, we'd love that. I adored Silent Hill, one of my top 10 games of all time. And obviously, he started that work on PT, didn't he? Is, we now know, did actually feature Norman Reedus because of some data mining. So, we'd love to see it, but to me, it sounds very unlikely. But you never know. There's a bang on trend for survival horror classics at the moment. Why not?
Like, I've poo-pooed that, but there's nothing I want to see more than Kojima remake Silent Hill. There's nothing I want to see more than that. I just find it very hard to believe that story.
While we're on it, Rich, any other games, survival horror classics evolved that you might be interested in seeing churned out, since the industry's alike with
Well, yeah, when we spoke about Resi 4, which I think was probably one of my more favourite Resis, but I feel like that sort of had a remake on the Switch. It's quite a modern, you know, it's a fairly newish game anyway, so I don't know whether we'll really see a remake of that. But yeah, what Alone in the Dark?
Veronica, you think could do with it first before Resi 4. But yeah, mate, Alone in the Dark, one of the very first survival horror games that kind of created the genre or helped create it. That would be amazing. A couple of others from me. Dead Space, that was a great game, although fairly recent. I think PS3 era, that one. Parasite Eve. That would be fantastic. I always watched that but never played it again. And even the GameCube classic Eternal Darkness, which I know had some very clever ways to manipulate your sensors and almost Kojima-esque style creativity in that one. But yeah, please guys, let us know in the comments if we've missed any out or what you'd like to see in terms of survival horror classics evolved. But moving on, Rich.
And we can't possibly do a weekly news piece this week without mentioning Star Wars. It's dropped, I believe it's out today.
It is,
Thursday the 19th.
Yeah.
So I know there's insane amount of hype out there. People are so excited to go and see it. I saw some people on Facebook, and normally they work during the day and they were at the cinema instead. So they've obviously taken the day off to watch it. So some really, people are really excited about this, but we thought it would be cool just to have maybe a roundup of what people are saying about the film, because there's also been some game-related news that sort of dropped at the same time. So, Tabs, what do you know about the review roundup?
Well, in a nutshell, it's currently sitting at 53 on Metacritic and 58% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that perhaps
you would
tells
say
you
not amazing, would you?
No, a very mixed reaction on that front. I mean, I'd point you towards Yong-Ye, however you pronounce the channel name. He's done a really good review roundup with a lot more detail in terms of excerpts from some of these reviews. But in a nutshell for you, apparently, erring on the side of cons, it's expositionally complex. There's an awful lot crammed in there. There's a bit of lid cramming going on from J.J. Abrams, who's desperately trying to resolve all these, plot threads that have come about since in the first two. It's a bit try-hard, a bit middling at times, plays it too safe, uses the same old blueprint of the originals, and doesn't really try to reinvent and do something new.
I often think, Tabs, and I don't know whether you think this, when you make a film series, a trilogy, whatever it might be, if you're not careful with the way you're tying up the story in the first 1 or 2 or 3 films, you get to the last film and there's so much to tie up, the film either ends up like 3 hours long, or it's just so complicated because almost every scene has got to be some sort of story tie-in.
Well, absolutely. Oh, unless it's a Hideo Kojima game, because that's just part of the course. No, but in terms of Star Wars, that perfectly illustrates, the main issue here. J.J. Abrams was the director who commandeered the first film, so Force Awakens, which I actually quite liked. The problem is they then got, I think it's Rian Johnson, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but in for the second one, The Last Jedi. And it appears that they didn't have any sort of consistent vision from the start all the way through the trilogy. And it seems this Rian Johnson took it his own way, interpreted it his own way. And then J.J. Abrams has been brought back in to try and wrap everything up. And I think that is a feeling in these reviews, that there's been no clear vision, and J.J. Abrams has probably done as good a job as he can to resolve things and tie a nice neat bow on top of it all. But you still can't pretend that it's not been an erratic trilogy with signs of the stuffing coming out at the seams.
Well, that's the thing. Is it a scenario of too many cooks spoiling the broth?
Exactly. Yeah, in a nutshell, I think that's the issue. But just to err on some positivity, apparently there's some great moments in there. It's very entertaining, bit of a ride through Star Wars and its universe.
That's the one thing I will always say. So some of the Star Wars films haven't been amazing like the originals, but actually they're really entertaining to watch. Even though you come out of them a little bit flat, they're still really good to watch.
Well, this is it, yeah. If you just suspend that kind of purist Star Wars fan in you, if you've seen them from the very beginning, then I think you can still find something to enjoy there. They're always a good ride, kind of gung-ho joyride through the Star Wars universe. And this one apparently has that as well in bucket loads. It's a bit of a compendium of all things Star Wars. So, it's always going to be hard, isn't it? Star Wars as a series, as a franchise, it straddles multiple generations. How the heck are you supposed to keep everybody happy? It must be an absolute nightmare. But at the same time, you would have thought that Disney's approach to this would have been, let's bottom out the entire script front to back in this trilogy, get a director on board who can see it through, you know, front to back again,
Absolutely.
and make it a consistent vision. And it seems they've not really achieved that. More of an MCU approach, I suppose you would say.
Yeah.
So it is a shame, but you know, I'll probably see it, and hopefully I'll get something out of it at the very least.
And then, do you want to briefly talk about Star Wars games? There's a few bits and bobs that have been sort of spoken about in the last couple of days, probably to coincide with the film.
Spot on. I mean, it's a great time of year if you are a Star Wars fan and a gamer, because we know that Jedi Fallen Order not too long ago dropped, conveniently in time for Christmas.
Good reviews as well.
Yeah,
Good
broadly
reviews.
positive.
Yeah.
Currently sitting at a 79 on Metacritic. I've asked for it from Santa. I don't know about you, Rich, so hopefully I'll...
No, I asked for Pokemon. So fingers crossed for that one.
Wildly different. So both franchises with a lot of controversy surrounding them at the moment. Interesting. Probably wrecked by commercial interest. But anyway... But finally, yeah, just to end the Star Wars item, of course, Battlefront 2, which was a game, it must be about a year old now.
Yeah.
But if you've not been following, well, that has actually received a shiny new coat of gloss.
Yes.
And IGN have recently posted a review. Originally, they gave it a 6.5. I think it was wrapped with microtransactions and monetization when it first was launched.
Nightmare.
But it's been bumped up to 8.8.
So significant improvements there then. Significant.
Yeah, they say it's absolutely stuffed to the rafters with, you know, Star Wars fan service.
Amazing.
And content that will keep you busy for, you know, for days essentially. And all that horrible monetization stuff has more or less been removed. And it's a much fairer system in terms of progression in it now. So yeah, if you're a Star Wars fan and you're not too fussy, there's plenty out there for you to get your teeth into this time of year.
Amazing. And that is the news for this week, or the big news stories that we've taken from this week. I'd just like to say we were hoping to drop another video on Monday, but if you don't get a chance to see that, have a wonderful Christmas, all the BArcadians, and we really appreciate you joining us throughout the year for all of our videos, be it Death Stranding, workouts, whatever they are. We really appreciate that. That ends the news show, and we'll see you.
First Christmas on the channel. Woo! I think
yes,
that
it
deserves
is.
a celebratory scream.
Woo! Woo! So if you like the video, give us a like, and if you did like the content, then if you subscribe, you can stay abreast of all our new content and click that bell so you get notifications. And I think that's about it. Another one for the archive.
Stamped and completed.